embrace and let go. Trust the flow.
Rows and flows of angel hair and ice cream castles in the air and feather canyons everywhere. I've looked at clouds that way, but now they only block the sun. They rain and snow on everyone. So many things I would have done, but clouds got in my way. I've looked at clouds from both sides now, from up and down, and still somehow it's clouds, illusions I recall. I really don't know clouds at all. J'ai voulu laisser mon cœur danser la danse du bonheur. J'ai cru que l'amour était né dans un conte de fées. Mais aujourd'hui, je sais qu'il faut souvent quitter un lit trop chaud en souriant pour bien cacher tout ce qu'on a donné. J'ai vu l'amour des deux côtés, ces jours de gloire, de vérité, et c'est bien triste de penser que je n'ai rien appris du tout. Tears and fears and feeling proud to say I love you right out loud. Dreams and schemes and circus crowds, I've looked at life that way. But now old friends are acting strange. They shake their heads, they say I've changed. Something's lost, but something's gained in living every day. I've looked at life from both sides now, from win and lose, and still somehow it's life's illusions I recall. I really don't know why. J'ai vu la vie des deux côtés, ces jours de gloire, de vérité, et c'est bien triste de penser que je n'ai rien appris du tout.
When you fly
Hello. Oh, there we go. Oh, yay. Welcome, everybody. I'm so happy to be back. Do we have first time visitors? Yes. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. For those who don't know me, I'm Reverend Cindy Grimes, and I'm the inspirator here, the senior minister, whatever you want to call that position. And I've been on sabbatical for 3 months, so this is my first Sunday back in official capacity. So I just want to welcome you all. We have first-time visitors. Raise your hand if you're here for the first time. Fabulous, fabulous. I know there was another one here. I don't know where he went, but anyway. All right. So let's just a little opening of who we are, and then I'll hand it over to our guest presenter for today. So welcome to Center for Spiritual Living Ocala. We are part of a larger organization called Centers for Spiritual Living, and we teach a philosophy here called the Science of Mind, and we'll get into that a little bit more. But our vision here at Centers for Spiritual Living is that we are a model center as evidenced by the transformational impact we have on the folks who are in this community here, but also the people whose lives you touch. So how many of you have experienced some shifts in your life as a result of being here, right? Yeah, me too. That's why I come. That's why I became a minister, because my life changed so radically out of being here. So if your life is changing and great things are happening to you, we've done what we came here to do. We are doing our mission, which is, next statement, to empower individuals to awaken to the power and presence that lies within and all around them so we can all live our best lives. Now, that's a little bit different. A lot of faith practices say that they believe in God and that God is everywhere, except God is out there and never here, right? and we firmly and believe and live from that space of this thing that we call God. If it is everywhere, then it has to be right where you're sitting, right where I'm sitting. We are all the living, breathing, moving, thinking, loving expressions of the one. Yeah, like for real. Yeah, whoa, whoa, whoa. It is big. It's really big. Just that concept alone, right? And to be sitting with people who get that, you know. It, yeah, it does take a while, especially if, when you come from a faith where that's kind of heresy. Like, you just say, what? You think you're part of God? What are you, out of your mind? So we just claim it. We are out of our minds, and it's all right. Our values, what is important to us here at the Center for Spiritual Living, number one on our list. We chose these together as a community back in 2015 with spiritual growth and practice. And then it goes from there. So you can say them along with me if you want, if you would like to do that. So number one, spiritual growth and practice, love, appreciation, community, freedom, creativity, health and wholeness, generosity, and financial well-being. Yes, phenomenal. So if those things are important to you as well, you are in the right place. Although we are going to actually revisit our values. We haven't done it since 2015 when I became the minister, and that's going to be 10 years very soon. So it's time for us to revisit our values and revisit our vision and mission and make sure that it reflects the community that we have today, not the community from 2015. Because most everyone here is new, just about. So, next. All right, so we are here today for a conversation around death and dying, and the whole month is kind of dedicated to that topic. Every month we're doing a different aspect of the foundations of what we teach in this philosophy, and one of the core teachings is the idea of immortality. Right? The idea that there is something about us, the spiritual essence of who we are, that is never been created and never destroyed, like energy, right? It's always here. And that's a tough thing to wrap your mind around. But there's also the very human aspect of our death and dying, and the fact that this mortal human existence does come to an end for each one of us, right? In this format. So this month we're going to be talking about that. And I had been a hospice social worker. It was one of my early jobs and feels like a lifetime ago. So I have a lot of experience in this area, but I love for us to hear from other voices. And I'll tell you how I met this lady, Shanti Vani. I was scrolling through Facebook, and you know how it gives you suggested friends? And she was on a list of suggested friends. And I must have been scrolling through, and somehow I hit like friend request. And I was horrified, like, oh my God, I don't know this woman. I don't like friend people, just a lot of people do, but I don't do that. And I thought, well, she'll probably ignore it just like I do when I get a request from someone I don't know. Well, she didn't do that. She reached out to me and she said, you sent me a friend request, and I don't generally respond to people, but, why did you send it? And so before I answered her, I thought, well, let me see who this woman is. And we had some common friends, and then I saw that she was a death doula at the same time that I was preparing for this month's talks. So we connected, and we had several conversations, and I thought, who better to lead our practices session than someone who is in this for their life work. That it's a very important part of her mission and who she is. And so Shanti Vani is a death doula, and I'm going to just let you explain what that all means. And thank you so much for joining our community. And she also is a first-time visitor.
Yes.
So let's offer her some kindness.
And when this working? Yeah. When you asked if our lives had been changed, and then I raised my hand, and then you said by just being here, and I'm like, already, yes. In the past half hour of being here, I feel like I have a whole new addition to my family, which is already made and really powerful, and on the same course of just love and caring and connection. So what I'd like to do you have someone that plays the crystal bowl?
Yeah, we do.
If we could just get maybe a half a minute or a minute of the crystal bowls, and then I'll lead us in a guided, just 2 or 3 minute meditation for centering and getting together.
And I just want to add that Pegatha is back there. She has volunteered because this is what she does at her home center up in Asheville.
Oh.
Yes, so Pegatha is here with us because she's got family down here and belongs to both communities. So thank you, Pegatha. We're so glad you're safe.
So, as we gather here together, just feel your feet on the earth. Just a couple of layers between us and the earth here. And we'll just feel different parts of our body, starting down at the toes and moving up through our calves and our upper legs. Notice the pelvis and your seat where you're sitting on the chair. Feel your spine. Let the energy move up your spine to your shoulders. Shoulders are where I carry so much tension. When I notice them, I think, wow, try to relax them. And then our neck, our throat, arms, and the face. Oftentimes our face holds so much tension. We're smiling or frowning or talking. And just let your face kind of droop and relax. You don't have to show anyone anything right now. And then feeling your forehead, and let the energy just kind of pour up through the middle of your crown, where when you were born you had a soft spot there. Just let the energy gently drift up. And now, I want you each to think of someone who has really been there for you at some time in your life when you had a need. Someone who became very important because of how they were in your life and how they supported you. They allowed you to be yourself and gave you something that you really needed at that time. So just see that person right in front of your face. Notice the gratitude and the importance of connection. And next we're going to recall a memory of a time when you witnessed someone being kind to another person, where they didn't have to, but they did. It could be something as simple as a smile in the bank line or a teller being careful of how they pack the groceries and asking the person about their day. Any little thing, any little kindness. Just remember how you felt when you witnessed that grace and that kindness. And now the third and last part is, think of a time when you were that kind, supportive person for another who really needed you to be there. Where you just took the time to listen and to care. And you became that important person in that other's life. So just sitting with our vision of kindness and how important it is. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes and stretch, look around, and gather together. Thank you all. Thank you for being here. So I guess I just want to share a little bit of how I got to this work. Childhood was not easy. I had an older sister who had a lot of anger and acting out. She was a lot bigger than me. Like when I was born, she was 4.5. And then as I got through to my high school years, long story short, right? In high school, I remember feeling a lot of depression and laying in my bed and crying, and I didn't know why. 16, 17. And then I kind of bucked up and said, okay, I'm going to move into adulthood here now. So 18, 19, 20. Totally unprepared, carrying all the burdens of the pain of my life, and which wasn't, comparing, but it wasn't as traumatic as many people, but it was hard for me. So jumped into, I'm really concerned about people from the age of 17 to 23 in our society. I think it's such an important time to have community and be able to talk about what's going on. See, it was back in the 60s, so we really didn't have our Dr. Phil and Oprah and all the open talking that we do have now. So I jumped into, on a trip to Mexico, I got pregnant, and so I had my first baby when I was 21, and that didn't work out, and so I jumped into a relationship with a Vietnam veteran and had 3 babies, and that didn't work out, and I went directly into a mental institution and spent about, I think, 10 weeks in a mental hospital, forced treatment against my will. And when I got out of there, I was really acting psychotic. I mean, they didn't know what to do with me, so they put me there. But when I got out of there, I said, never again. I'm not going back there, because that's not what's going to work for me. So anyways, that was 78, and in 79, I moved to Gainesville. And I'd never lived anywhere more than 4 years, but I've been here ever since and found it as my healing place and my loving community and place where my children and grandchildren, most of them, and great-grandchildren still live. So I have 7 great-grandsons and a great-granddaughter on the way this month. Wow. We had our baby shower yesterday. So I just want to talk a little bit, starting out, about some definitions. Well, what is grief? Grief is any unwanted change. It's a normal, natural reaction or response to any unwanted change in life. So it can be getting what we don't want or not getting what we want. And it can involve many aspects of our life. I have a list at home. I didn't bring it today, but it's 82 kinds of grief that I just put together, and I'm sure there's at least 82 more. But here today, we're here to talk about death. So I'd just like to see a show of hands. Is there anyone here who's experienced a death in their life of someone? And it could be a pet, too. It doesn't have to be a person. Is there anyone here who has not had someone that they know die? Wow, okay, so we are unanimous. It is, just as birth happens, death is bound to happen. So it is inevitable. But in our society, death has tended to be the taboo subject. Have you ever had someone, like when there's a grief going on and they just kind of go, okay, oh, I got to go to the bathroom, got to go, or they look away, body language, people just don't want to handle it. And so that's why I felt like it's really important. For my work, I was highly motivated to help people have the conversation and normalize the conversation about something which is actually very normal and real. So then just to talk a little bit about trauma. So a traumatic event is this terrible thing that happens, and it's often unexpected, and we're blindsided. But that's the event. But the trauma is according to Gabor Mate, you may know of him, the wound that stays inside of us after that event. And it can create sort of a scar in our being, or a scab, but it turns into a scar, which is sort of like an emotional little hard tissue to penetrate, or a wall. And so, yeah, so that's something that many of us just go on living with because we don't think there's any way to resolve it or deal with it. So we just have this trauma that we live with. So I just want to talk a little bit about human nature and human needs. And, we'll stop here and there for people to share experiences. But let me just give a little bit more here. So our nature is to give and receive love and kindness. There's no newborn baby that's born wanting to kill. Also, it's our nature to acknowledge one another, to be curious, to look directly in one another's eyes and ask questions and want to know about each other. To be validated, like when you're having an upset, wow, I hear you. I totally get it. Like, wow, you're human. You're feeling this. And to have boundaries as well. And say, yeah, sorry, I can't do that right now. Take care of ourselves. To be valued and understood, and to have enjoyment in our days every day. To have creativity, music, beauty, nature, culture. One thing I wish I could do more is dance. I'm very shy about dancing. And then our needs are for connection and acceptance, a lot of what our nature is too, and to have space and good communication with honesty. I think there have been many opportunities in life to have an honest conversation that I've just passed because I'm afraid of conflict and just don't bother, but then I hold it in and it never goes anywhere. So being brave, maybe, to be honest. And to trust and to have an extended family that we trust and care about. So, do you have anything you want to?
As far as the needs, I think this is a great list. There is, if you want to look online, the Center for Nonviolent Communication has lists of human needs that we all have. It doesn't matter your age, your gender, how much money you have or don't have, that these are things that are common for all human beings.
Yeah, there's so many great resources. So then, okay, who am I? Who are we? Okay, don't we a lot of times just focus on our physical, our material world? So we have, I've listed sort of 5 aspects, and I'm sure there are others, but we have this physical body, and physical needs are obvious, and they are compelling. You know, we're hungry, so we've got to figure out a way to eat, and we need a roof over our heads, and, you know, the material world sort of rules sometimes. And then we have our intellect, our cognitive needs to think and question and explore and read and learn and have something we're studying and have work in our lives, something meaningful. And then we have our emotional body. Let's call them different bodies that we have. Our emotional body, which often is encouraged to be happy and discouraged from being sad. Does anybody relate to that? Okay, yeah. Like, okay, don't be sad. You'll be all right. It's okay. It'll be good. Yeah, stuff it back in, right? And then our spiritual body, which this group knows about nurturing, the spiritual part of us that is really, I would say, freedom, being free. And I added, which I don't usually talk about because it's not really my area, but I added the clairvoyant because I thought this group might relate to that. I do know, I've seen that there are clairvoyants. I never pursue it or don't go to get a reading or anything like that, but it's that intuitive part that just knows certain things in an amazing kind of way. And it's really, to me, it's magical. I had a thing last week. I think it was Tuesday night. I was sleepless, which is rare for me. So I was up at 1 or 2 in the morning for about an hour, tossing and turning. And then I was like, oh, I know. I have to sign up on Facebook to dig a grave at Prairie Creek Cemetery. And it was just like this compelling thing, like that's what I need to do. And then I was able to go to sleep. So I signed up and told them I'd be there Thursday morning. And so the next day, phone call came in from a friend, and she said, do you know about VSED? You know what, I don't know if you know what VSED is. Voluntarily stopping eating and drinking. So if you want to die in Florida, they don't have the medical aid in dying, which I have mixed feelings about, but they don't have that here. So they do have VSED. And so she asked me about it. And I was like, oh, yeah. So I got my friend to send information about it. And I said, who's it for? Who do you have? She goes, me. Oh, wow. And I'm like, I had no idea. So you got to be careful what you ask for. If you're thinking about being a death doula, you got to be ready for anything, which is why that I nurture the spiritual part of myself as much as I possibly can, because what would it be like to have people like that calling me and going, sorry. You have to be able to deal with stuff and offer it. So those are the parts of us. So anyway, if someone dies that you love, you care about, or you even just know and like or don't like, it's still just a shock to your nervous system. It can do something if you're allowing yourself to feel it. A lot of times the alternative is just don't feel it. Just go wash the dishes or do something else. But sometimes we really have these painful feelings and we don't accept it. We just don't want to accept it. People say, I know she died, but I just can't believe it. I feel like she's still here. And so what also doesn't help is that people say dumb things. Does anyone want to share some of the dumb things people say? I heard a grunt over there. You got one? If someone died?
Yeah. Let's get a mic. Hang on a second, because there might be people listening.
I had witnessed the death, and I was really traumatized. And someone had said to me, "Well, if you had gone to more funerals when you were growing up, this wouldn't be such an issue for you." Like, that's just one example.
Wow. Is it on? Oh, let me try another one. There's another mic coming. Hello?
Okay, that one works. Okay, I'm sorry. I don't use microphones a lot. This is not something I talk about a lot, but it's definitely the setting, and I made a point to be here today because this is something I also am very involved with. My dad killed himself when I was 3. He hung himself in my living room. And I told a friend that I'd been friends with for a very long time. And we were playing a card game, and they made a joke about it like 2 weeks later. And it's like something people have known me my whole life, and they never knew that. So that was probably one of the worst things anyone's ever done to me, saying things about death.
So what happens, such a huge classic example, and what happens is, I'm pretty sure you would say, oh, shut down, go, like, don't bother to try to open up again, because it just wounds you even further. And we're just so unconscious. That's a huge example, and I'm so sorry that happened. And I'm so glad you came today, that you came here. There would be cases where, my case, and I don't know if you have that picture of my family, but I had 4 children, and the one on the left, Maria, was the first, and then Sarah on the right, and then Naomi, and my son was the youngest. And Naomi died in 2015, and you can kind of see from her photo what a bright light she was. She's the one in the middle. She had addiction and depression. Her first overdose was when she was 12, and it was Tylenol, 73 extra strength Tylenol, because we counted how many were left in the bottle. And her brother had to run to she was on the phone, and she wouldn't put the phone down. It was a landline at the time. When she was 12, that was years ago. And so he had to run to a neighbor's house, and then they called an ambulance. And when I got home from work, I was like, Mom, she's in the hospital. So, but her godfather had died a month earlier from AIDS. So we had loved this man and lived with him and been a close friend. And it was just, he died January 2nd, and it was just in February that she did that. So I always knew that grief was, unfortunately, my own life led to a lot of her grief, the trauma that I went through when I was pregnant with her and having all these kids. And so there's just been a lot of healing work to do around it, but, and that's not just why I do this, I just do it because I'm motivated, but from 12 to 38 when she died, she always struggled. And she just never was able to deal with grief, with loss. 2 friends, she was doing really well, and then 2 friends in a short period of time died by suicide, and that was what caused her to relapse and end her life. She didn't end her life with suicide, but she was found dead. So I know it's heavy. It's a heavy topic. But it's so good that I want you to see I'm here. Like we survive, we live through these things. And when we share our stories, we are able to help each other. What I was going to say is people might say, well, you have 3 other kids. They do, though. You be happy you have 3 living kids. Look, I know that, but don't you tell me that. All of these things people say, if they say it to you, it's wrong. But if you say it to yourself, it's true. You get that? Like, my mom died when she was 92. She had Alzheimer's. She had a long life. I took care of her. I lived with her for years. And I can say she lived a long life, but don't you tell me that. So, because the thing is, when others say it to you, they're just trying to placate or make it.
I think it's when they're trying to break that awkward feeling that's in the air. So instead of just sitting in quiet, you have to fill it with something else. And, it's just, I don't know if it's a comfort for them to say it. They think that they're helping when really it's just doing a disservice. Because that person will carry that with them once they leave that situation. Once they leave sitting with that person, they might get into their car and say, why did they say that to me? So it just starts now almost having a resentment with that person. You don't want to. But you start to think, just being, as I call it, a heart with ears. Just hear me out, don't speak.
Anyone else?
So a real common phrase that people use is they're in a better place, which does nothing for the person who's grieving.
I want to say, well, you've got the mic there, Elaine. When you mentioned clairvoyance as part of, our humanity, that this is what Elaine does as a medium, and she's going to be speaking next Sunday after my talk. If you want to say anything, a little something about that, but we'll be doing a little introduction to what that means.
We're going to talk a little bit about mediumship and how mediumship serves us, what it is, who a medium is, how one becomes a medium, and the purpose of mediumship. So I hope that you guys will be here because it's going to piggyback very well on the subject matter that we're going through today. And I think it will shed a lot of light on how we as a society in this Western Hemisphere tend to look at death as a death-denying society, right? And instead of looking at it in that respect, we can look at it as a death-affirming society. And mediumship and what I'm going to discuss next week is about affirming ourselves in a positive way when we look at the subject of death.
Next Sunday after my talk. I think it's at 1, right? It's a Q&A. Nice. So back to the subject matter at hand. Sorry about that.
Okay. I get off track often. I've experienced a lot of death and grief growing up, but there's one experience that I don't think I will ever forget just because of, like, the horrificness of it. Back when I was living in West Palm Beach, me and my cousin, we had a very great friend group, and it's just looking at the pictures up there, it reminded me of her because of how bright and how smiley she was. She was an amazing person. She had just turned 18, and she was hanging out with friends that she grew up with. Like, her parents went to school together. The kids grew up together, and she died of an overdose, and these girls that she grew up with literally just watched her die. They sat on the phone with the 911 operators and told them, like, yeah, she's turning black and blue, but they're not doing anything about it, you know. And we're talking about a girl who once shoved her fingers down my throat to help me puke because I was too drunk, you know. So the devotion of this young woman, the life that she had, all the things that she wanted to do, and I can't tell you how bright and how amazing she was. But going to her celebration of life, it was so beautiful. And these girls who was there and witnessed this go on as it happened tried to completely destroy what we were there for, which was to celebrate her. They did nothing but make fun of her and laugh at her, and to the point to where there was people that like came and sat them outside and was like, look, you know, you either need to pay your respects or you need to leave, you know, because you're disturbing everybody else's grieving process. And then not only that, but you're destroying her name, you know. And I'll never forget it. And I really do believe that um, she's still here. In a way, I feel her all the time, or a song will pop on and I'm like, oh, that's Taylor's song, you know. But it's funny because my cousin and I, we had drove over an hour to go to her celebration of life, and his vehicle was doing great, right? We were getting close towards the end of the night, and we were getting ready to leave. We were playing like one last send-off song that was one of her favorites as we were going to roll out, but the truck stopped working. So we're trying to figure out what's going on. Why is the truck not working? And all of a sudden, you see this big crowd of people um, in the street, and it was people who used to hang out with Taylor, people that she's met along her journey. And these people, these girls, they stuck up for Taylor in a way that I will forever be grateful. I don't condone violence, but I feel like this was something that needed to be done, considering the disrespectful and just the nastiness that these girls brought upon her celebration of life. And I truly believe that the reason why that truck stopped working is because Taylor made it stop working. She wanted us to see that justice was being served one way or another. And we watched these girls who sat there and basically laughed at Taylor the entire time get their get their butts beat. I mean, you know, and it wasn't. It's not, like I said, it's not something that I normally condone, but to see it all happen like that, and as soon as the cops came, the truck started right up. You know, we were like, that's Taylor right there. She's like, you know, you just wait. You know, I'm still here, and I feel her around all the time. So it's nice to think about death as in a way of like it should be celebrated. You know, these people, they've left a mark on the world. They've left a mark in our hearts, and that's something that should be celebrated and mourned. So yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing. You can see the pain. Just one incident of so many that are going on in the world can bring so much pain, and it goes on and on and on, too. I don't know how long ago that was. 3 years? 2 years ago, yeah. But that does bring me to a really segue into where does the harm end? I understand what do they call it, the sweet taste of revenge. But now that I'm 73, I've come to see that there's no joy in further harm, and there's no usefulness to further harm. So anyway, we'll move on to that. But yeah, so we have this was, I had here, resulting painful feelings. That was a good example. Really excellent. So I'm going to integrate a little bit of some Buddhist teachings that I've been studying over the years. You know, impermanence. Nothing is permanent. Everything is always changing. I had someone the other day say to this woman, oh, you never change. And I kind of chuckled inside because, like, yeah, you change every second, every minute. We're always changing. But if you have those feelings of anger, when you're in grief and loss, those are normal and natural to have. Like, especially if there's a wrong, if there's some harm that's been done, and we are angry. And so, but what we do with that anger is what's important. So if, the best thing is to let it fly out of your body off into nature. She can handle it. And to let it go as quickly as possible, because anger, rage, ire, resentment, all of that is only hurting more. And it hurts us when we have those emotions. So, and then if we act on them, it hurts others. So come to a place where it's important to try and stop that cycle of harm, call it harm or violence. So sometimes we feel this kind of blame or anger or rage or guilt or shame. We feel these sort of what I call toxic emotions, but they're just yucky, yucky feelings. And and that's why I think people are so uncomfortable, is they just want to avoid the yucky feelings, right? But you know what? Feelings are just feelings. They're just sensations that we have. There may be thoughts related to them. They're not to be taken so seriously. It's just, oh, wow, I was feeling yucky today. I was feeling good today. It's just a state of our emotions. So a lot of times what happens, too, is that we just avoid the depth of it because we don't know. If we go diving into that deep sea of grief, we don't know if people say, I don't know if I'll ever stop crying. I don't know if I'll ever come up for air. I feel like I'm going to break if I let myself go, you know what I mean? And so if we can just allow it and welcome it. So I think learning to be a good listener. And I was thinking maybe today we could do a little bit of a listening exercise.
Sure.
Yeah.
Do you want to say exactly what is it that a death doula would do for a family?
Yes. So one thing is you can always go to our website. I'm on the board of the Florida End of Life Doula Alliance, and our website is feolda.org, and there's a whole list of what we do. So I might miss some things, but basically we, a birth doula helps a mother preparing for the birth, getting through the birth, nursing, adjusting emotionally to now having this dependent person and postpartum depression, whatever that might be. So we do that at the end of life. And there are some who are birth doulas and death doulas who, when they were younger, they did the birth doula thing. So it can involve helping with your advance directives, your papers. It can involve sitting bedside through the death. The primary thing we do is we advocate for the patient. Because as you know, families can be complicated. And there might be disagreement among different family members as to what should happen or what dad would want. So the importance of having the paperwork together, I don't care how old you are, get it together as soon as you turn 18. Because you never know. And so sometimes, having an outside person come in who knows what the patient wants and can advocate for them is really helpful. What else do we do?
That's pretty extensive.
It's a lot. So it's just being a useful human being in a tough situation. But planning ahead is important. You might have, how many people here have advanced directives? You don't have to raise your hand and put yourself on the spot. But that would be your healthcare. Who is your healthcare surrogate? Who are I'd say 2 people, really should have 2, who are going to make decisions for you if you should be struck by a truck and on a ventilator tomorrow or tonight. Well, yeah, there's a living will is a different document. And that's your will and your power of attorney. That's the beneficiaries is your money part, your property, right? Yeah, so the healthcare power of attorney or healthcare surrogate is the person who knows what you want. Do you even want to be, allowed to die if there's a wreck? Do you want resuscitation? Well, there's the DNR, which is a yellow piece of paper in Florida, which says, if my heart stops and if I stop breathing, don't do anything, let me die. That's your DNR. I don't have one because I'm ready to keep trucking for 20 more years. Your healthcare surrogate explains if you have these, what do you want in terms of treatment? It's just a lot of details like that. Now, a good place to go for that is the Conversation Project online, but there's also the 5 Wishes that helps you sort it all out. And it's good to make a video of yourself reading this stuff and telling everyone so that there won't be the argument of like, oh, well, that's on paper, but that's old. And, have it where people know where it is.
The thing you,
Of course. But those are documents you don't have to have an attorney to do. So the attorney you have to hire for the will and the trust and the power of attorney on your stuff. So the lawyers are for your material.
can you tell us a little more about the voluntarily stopping eating and like what is that?
Yeah.
What's involved in that?
Yeah. So it's, like I said, in Florida, I think there are 13 states where they allow the medical aid in dying. Here we have Compassion and Choices. It's, I guess, a national organization that is working to allow people when they are in a terminal, agonizing situation to administer medication to themselves to hasten their death. So here we don't have that. So it would be when it's really, really tough and you're really sick and everybody's saying, come on, eat, come on, get up, do physical therapy. The people are trying to keep you going and you really know that you're dying and you want to be allowed to die. So there's a lot of things you got to do to prepare for it. You need a couple of people who are not your spouse to meet with and understand. That's where a doula comes in, what you want, and help sort it out. Because it can be a long and agonizing process, depending on how much body fat and fluid you have or not, depending on how sick you are. If you have terminal cancer and you're already close to the end, you'd be on hospice. So hospice would provide pain medication, morphine, things like that, as they usually do. Every bit of food and drink you give your body is to keep you going. So every bit of food and drink that you keep from your body will hasten your death. And these aren't easy topics for people, but it's good to know.
It's good to do it when you're not in the midst of the thing.
Yeah, think about
Right,
it
that's
ahead
the
of
other
time.
thing,
Learn
to-
about it ahead of time. And if you go to the Yes, an organ donor. Yes, you got to plan on that. I have, by the way, I have a neighbor who, she's 63, and she received her new heart the day that Hurricane Helene was coming towards us. So that Wednesday, the 18th, she received her new heart. And because of knowing her, I signed up to be an organ donor. I'd never really thought about it that much. But, it was an easy process to go online and sign up. And by the way, we had a welcoming ceremony for her heart at U of Health. It was last Wednesday. It was 2 weeks after the new heart. She was allowed to bring in a lot of friends and family and just to share with her. We have ceremony for all kinds of things, right? Graduation, babies, death, But how about a new organ? And for her, it was important to welcome that heart into its new home, which was this human being. And we felt like her doing the welcoming and singing to her heart and talking to her heart, getting to know her heart was actually going to help her body to retain the heart and not reject it. And we really believe that. And I think she might be listening today from her hospital room. Yeah. Hi.
Should we pass the mic?
Honestly, what I wanted to say was something related to before, and because I consider myself to be a little bit more of a complex person because I've got additional stuff happening. I'm aware that I may not say the right thing to people who are struggling, and I also know how it feels like to hear what you think is the wrong thing at that time, especially if it's so painful. So what basically I think that's where self-awareness comes in, where it's like I am aware that I suppress a lot of my emotions and that I suppress a lot of events that upset me because it's very difficult to go through. Like you said, sometimes I feel like opening up that can of worms is going to kill me, especially when you go through an anxiety attack or something and you actually feel it physically. But I kind of look at the other person and I'm like, okay, I see that this is less about this individual event and more about your journey towards accepting what is uncomfortable for you. I see that you are uncomfortable with this death. I see that you don't know really how to communicate that with me. And, we kind of have this thought that we want things to happen a certain way. We want people to show up for us in a certain way. And having to release that and say, no, you are simply not capable. And that's okay, because there are times when I'm not capable, and I have to recognize that before I do any harm or say something that may harm someone, and recognize that I may not understand, just as this person may not understand. And what I find helps is to actually say that and say, hey, I may not understand what you're going through, but I want to be there for you. I may not say the right thing for you, but I genuinely want to be there for you because I know that this is something hard. And to say that you're uncomfortable, I'm uncomfortable with death, but I want to be there for you, that kind of thing.
So the way what kind of helps me deal with death, and it's kind of, I keep it in the back of my mind, maybe in the back of my pocket, is with death, whether it be with like old behavior patterns or actual people, it's all uncomfortable, but it's always like a premonition of new things to come. There's always great change after it. There's always some kind of great thing that happens with all of it every time in my experience, especially with like, stuff with behavior and stuff. Like it's super weird, not comfy at all, but then it's like all these new areas of avenues of expression kind of open up.
Yeah, so talking about a little bit about what to say is kind of easy and quick because it's your body language. Sometimes eye contact, gentle eye contact, is good. Sometimes you just want to take a little walk, or walk side by side and not make that direct eye contact because that could be stressful. So kind of have to be able to read the person. But we were saying, I'm here for you. And even that, you got to first you got to know you are going to be there for the person. So never say you'll do something and not do it. Be dependable, be consistent, be available, and let them know if you're not. Or, but also, rather than saying I'm here for you, is I am with you. Because for you is sort of at, but with you is with. I don't know how you must be feeling. I know how I felt when my daughter died. And revealing your own losses can be so amazing for someone who's grieving because they're like, oh, you went through that too. And they just light up. They're like, it's really cool what can be uncovered when you're genuinely honest. But just being calm and being kind and, wow, that's got to be so hard. and hold that space for that. And I've had clients that came to me one-on-one after death of a spouse, and it's been 2 hours just, rah, 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 and I just had to be there and let it roll, you know. And so you just got to be kind of be intuitive and go with the flow. Yeah. So yeah, there's lots of things we do, but my specialty in the doula world is grief, trauma, and loss. And so what I like to do is create a little network around me of what I know, like, this Wednesday is going to be a storm, probably next Wednesday. But every month at the senior center in Gainesville, Alachua County, well, it's on Zoom. So every Wednesday, usually the second Wednesday of the month, we have a Gainesville End of Life Doulas does a presentation. And it's live, and anyone can come. And so we're going to do one on writing a memoir for self or another. And so we're going to have 2 memoir presentations. And because that's important too, just writing, storytelling, your story. When someone's getting closer to death, it becomes so important. Like, they'll have all kinds of stuff they want to share. So you can turn on the mic, turn on a recorder, you can write, and then you'll have things to share with other people about what was important to that person. There's just so many different aspects.
For me, I was in a really bad car accident. My friend drove my vehicle, and she hit somebody head on, and she died. So, everybody, people be like, well, you're here for a reason. That's fine, but, but I felt, I still kind of feel not responsible, but I'm here. She's not. There's a lot more to it, but the whole survivor guilt is hard.
Again, you might say to yourself, I'm here, wow. But if somebody else tells you that, they're trying to tell you not to feel bad. Don't feel your feelings. That I'm uncomfortable with you having bad feelings, so let me rationalize it for you to where you're not going to, it's so futile, it's useless, but that's what people do. My first thought was, because even though I teach this stuff, I still have it too. So my first thought would be, the wrong thing to say was, well, you weren't driving, right? Now you might think that to yourself and be grateful. Have you ever thought that?
Oh, yeah, I'm grateful to be here.
Yeah, it's hard. It's so hard. And then there are cases where a parent runs over their child. And you can never go back. You can never not have that have happened. And so those are the kinds of heavy, heavy grief that can hang on for a lifetime. And that's why it's so important that we release it and talk about it and find our way. Like, we can't find your way for you, but you can find yours. Yeah, yeah. And then the thing, too, is what to say to people when they're saying those dumb things. You're so blindsided by it. You're so baffled by it. All you do is, right, you just go and leave. You're just I'm not going to talk to that person for a very long time. And so it tends to isolate us and not want to take a chance of being hurt that way again. But the more we get sort of just a strength or a savvy or an ability to manage. For me, what's also helped is an understanding of, like you said, that the soul, or even in Buddhism we call it the mind, was always here and will always be here. So there is that part of us that won't die, and that's just always been here and always will be here. And so all of this is sort of incidental. It's dramatic, but you know what? There's a bigger picture, So, but for each person it's different. Each person has their own take on things and their own experience. And so for us, we just got to be able to listen with kindness and compassion. And the beauty of deep active listening is we don't have to fix anything. We don't even have to know the details. I'd be like, how old were you when your dad died? Oh, yeah, 3. It doesn't matter. That's for you to know and for you to care about. And if there is something I want to know, I could always ask and say, gee, I know you might have told me this, but what was that? And, we're all just in this together. We're human. And what I love about my work is that I am not a counselor. I am not a therapist. I'm not the professional that comes with the clipboard and the pen and then has to document your story so that I can get paid because it's coded with medical coding and stuff. We're peers. We're equals. There is nothing different about us, and we each have the ability to share and listen and be there for each other. So it's kind of radical. It's kind of huge.
I love the Ram Dass quote that we're really all just walking each other home. Right? We're all walking each other home. And there's a place for grace because sometimes we're on the receiving end of somebody's unskillful communication, perhaps. But sometimes we're the ones that did it. And so, grace for other people and grace for ourselves when we don't have the right words. Because it's so unique. People grieve in so many different ways. And what might have helped you might not help this other person. So I think maybe the default is to not speak, but be there. How you can be there for somebody and not have the words, but to actually just create a space where people can be heard, where they know that they're being listened to. Because you can be with somebody and know that they're not listening to you. Their body is here, but their mind's someplace else, right? The lights are on, but nobody's home. But you can, so like be there, being present and creating the space inside of yourself so that what that person has to share can come forth.
Yeah, and in your meditation and in your mindfulness of the day, build your capacity to hold space unconditionally for people. Ricky.
Is it on?
Yes.
Yeah, a couple things that. So I look at significant events and death in my life, and I notice that some I still have grief about, decades, and there's still grief there. And then I just in this past week, my father died, and there was a whole process of him dying, and in that process, I got to grieve in that process of him dying. So I come out of that, and all I want to do is celebrate him, celebrate his life. And I notice that what heals me is sharing that, and sharing that, who that person was and what they meant to me, and celebrating with them. And I look at, and now in comparison to those other events that I have grief about, I don't share those. I hold those in. So for me, maybe it's about sharing. To get through grief is to let it out, is to share it with the world and be real and transparent in that. So I just got that.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that's just so deep. In the work that I do with groups, we always remind everyone that, which I didn't do here, but we'll do it now, that everything that was said here is confidential. And that means that we don't bring it out of this room or even go up to the other person and go, hey, your dad, just meet them with an open space when you see them. Because it's sort of the images like when we flush the toilet, we don't want someone pulling out a plunger behind us. bringing up our shit, you know.
That's an image.
Does that stick in your mind there? No plunger. And also emotional honesty. We have tears. We have laughter. Like, we can be completely where we are. When Ricky was talking and he had to pause, he was, I think, holding back some tears. We're feeling them, and it's beautiful. But give each other time, you know. Don't grab the mic. Give them time. Give them what they need. And the other part is mutual respect, that we are all completely equal, equanimity. And no one is above anyone else. We're just human beings going through the walk.
That's why we sit in circle.
Yeah, absolutely. It was like circle. But then I was reminded in my improv group that there is no guarantee of confidentiality, because I have been crushed. I've seen people, too, crushed when their confidentiality was broken. I've seen people imagine that it was when it wasn't. That's so important. But for me anymore, I'm just an open book anyway. I got nothing, you know. But for some of us, there are parts that we really want to be protected. So don't share something that, and I've done it in the past too, share something that's so extreme that you'd be like, oops, I shouldn't have said that. Save that for your special people that you know you deeply trust.
There is something about sharing, as you were saying, Ricky, that it's like the support of the group. It dissipates the pain. I don't know what it is about that. It's, the humanity of it, right? That we all have these things. And so somehow, but the right group and the right setting and the right people. And we are here because we are those people. That's what I affirm, is that we're each a healing presence in the world. And so that we can show up for people in their need and have more tools to do that effectively.
So, yeah, go ahead. And then in a minute, I think what we'll do, we're probably not going to take a break because we're so close to our end of time, but what we'll do is play that one song in a little bit. The Eric Bibb song. Yes.
So when someone is going through grief, and to the layperson, has been said many times here this morning, most people don't know what to say. So I'd like to share a couple of phrases that seem to help in most all circumstances if you wind up in that position of being in front of someone who is in a heavy grieving process. I can't imagine how you must be feeling. I can't imagine how you must be feeling. And I'm so sorry for your loss.
Is there anyone else who wanted to share anything?
Hi, I'm Bridget, and thank you so much for coming and being with us. One of the things I'm reflecting on is the myth of the good and the bad death. And as in life, we all have our journeys to travel, and how we do them is up to each individual and whatever their sense of their God is. And I've just been through the process of being with somebody as they died, and I had a couple of experiences before. They've actually at times called me to be a end-of-life doula because of them, but I haven't walked through that door yet. And so what I'm reflecting on is that there is no good or bad death. Right? It is the death of the person, and it is what they have to go through for whatever they need to experience in that process. And that was a gift I got literally yesterday in my reflection and contemplation. So Thank you.
That's good. Yeah, I like that. Another? Okay, yes. Yes.
I'm going to try to keep this short because I feel like I could talk all day long. But one thing that this space has brought me is last week at the psychedelic integration circle, I had this whole like realization of just like my own grief process and what that means for me and how I want to help other people with it. So I'm just like spewing at the mouth of like what I want to bring to people. And Raven, who's sitting right next to me, she goes, "Have you ever heard of a death doula?" I was like, "No, what is that?" And then, of course, the following weekend, you are here. So I'm just so grateful for this container. But something that like came up for me while everyone was talking, something that helped me in my grieving process was whenever I would speak about my emotions, I would always, start with the bad, the dense energy, whatever. And then I would say, but da 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 da. And someone one day stopped me and was like, "You have to stop saying the but because you're invalidating yourself when you say that." And I clean houses for a living, and like maybe 2 weeks ago, I had a client lose her mom, and we were sitting here having a conversation eye to eye, and she was just spewing, and then she said, "But da 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 da," and I said, "No, stop! Don't but yourself. Don't invalidate your feelings because your feelings are valid." And like this light in her eyes was like, "Wow, like it is true." Like just the flip of the switch and that perspective of like any process that you're walking in grief is valid, and that like yes, there is a positive outlook that you can look on it too, but also like when you invalidate that denser energy kind of sense, you keep it in, you don't let it go. So I'm grateful for that message, and essentially, and then also that I just something that I want to share is I'm just so grateful for this conversation around transition because there is something to celebrate. And not a lot of people see that when we have a different connotation of what death is. And my dad died on my birthday. So that was always something that obviously affects me deeply. But I've always seen it as a celebration. But people around me don't. So it's just honestly kind of annoying because I'm just like, I wish people could see it as a celebration too, because it would help me with my grieving process. But people don't. And so like I'm just grateful we're having these conversations so people can realize that like I can celebrate my dad on my birthday too, and that's okay. Because truly he went home and he's still here too. So anyway, I'm just grateful.
Can I share something?
Yeah.
I think that's the importance of having these conversations. When someone gets a diagnosis, they put things in order very quickly. Like you figure out what your priorities are. Somebody says you have 6 months or less, like people, I've seen it over and over and over. And part of the healing work, that I've done in lots of different realms, but here, especially in the center, is to help people get to that without having to have a diagnosis. You know what I mean? What if you could live every day and remember that I only have so much time? Like, I'm going to make the very best of it. This BS with the politics or the this or the that is like, when you get down to it, it doesn't matter all that much. What matters is the connection that we have and that we make the most of whatever that life is, whether it's 18 years or 78 years or however long it is. And that's why I think this conversation is important, for people to just remember that and say, I'm going to live my life to the fullest, no matter how long that is, for as long as it is.
Yeah, to live today as though it may be our last, and actually it might. We don't know. So, wow, it's like the time's just flying by, isn't it? We thought we were going to have a whole plan and have a 5-minute break, but this has been, it's good to not break, it's good to stay together, I think, and I'm so grateful for this group, and there are many I haven't heard from. Were you going to say something? Oh, no. Yeah, but we're going to continue it, aren't we,
Sure.
somehow? And so I want us to stop and listen to one song, which is, I think, my favorite song right now. And it's Eric Bibb, and it's called More of That. So let's just listen for 4 minutes, and then we'll do a little closing. You want to close your eyes?
Sure got the blues this morning. Low down feeling I can't deny. Crept up on me without a warning. What it is I can't identify. Guess I need a little less of this, a little bit more of that. Got my clock wound up too tight. A little less aggravation, a little more contemplation. Baby, one day I'll work it out, get it right. Feeling sorry for myself. Got no reason to complain. Some days your soul makes sunshine. Some days it's gonna be rain. Guess I need a little less of this, little bit more of that. Not too heavy, not too light. A little less trepidation, a little more determination. Baby, one day I'll work it out and get it right. Got the blues this morning soon. Don't know why, wish I knew. I could blame it on the moon. What I won't do is blame it on you. Guess I need a little less of this, little bit more of that. Sometimes yes and sometimes no. Little less irritation, little more consideration. Baby, one day I'll work it out. I love you so.
He's like my favorite, Eric Bibb. Isn't it beautiful? That song takes me to such a deep place. Oh, yeah. So, wow. I guess we need to kind of wind it up, don't we?
Probably should.
We'll do page 2 another day.
I did want to ask you a question before you wrap it up. You mentioned the Prairie Creek Cemetery in Gainesville, and I'm not sure people know about that.
Oh, boy. Yeah. Well, in July of 2010, my family, these girls included, we buried the second person ever who was buried there. And so Prairie Creek Conservation Cemetery is what they call a green cemetery, natural burial. It's in Gainesville. It's easy to find. In fact, in the spring, Florida End of Life Doula Alliance is going to have a gathering there. We just talked about it when I went to do the digging the other day. So they use no chemicals, no concrete, no grave markers other than a little brass thing that says the name and the birth date and the death date. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful sacred place, and it's the Alachua Land Trust. So the land will be protected in perpetuity, but without all the stuff that the usual funeral business has. So it's really a beautiful place. And I'm planning, I thought I was going to be cremated, but my husband and I decided we signed a form, but it's just indicating your intention to be buried there, but that's not necessary. It's just a really great alternative. We thought cremation, but cremation uses a lot of fuel, puts a lot of CO2 into the atmosphere, and unfortunately cremation is so inexpensive that it's very on the rise, but it's also contributing to this planetary crisis that we're in. So, yes. Yeah. No. And anyone can, Volunteers of Prairie Creek, I think, is the Facebook page, or you can just look them up on the web and call and say you want to be on the volunteer list or get a notification. But I just went to the Facebook page, and it says, well, this was last Thursday, we got a dig Thursday, and we got 2 digs Friday. Meet at 8 a.m., and we'll do it. And so the dig took about a little over 2 hours for that one, and it was going to be for a pine box. Usually they're just shrouded in cotton. You don't use any unnatural materials, just cotton or wool or flax or linen. But it's just very gracious and beautiful. And the doulas, we love it. When we took our friend David in 2010, we just wrapped him in his quilt, and we just put him in the back of his pickup truck. We had to get the transport permit and all that. We got some help with that. So it's really sweet. And there's quite a number of those. There's one starting up around Tallahassee, and there's one down south as well. So, okay, I think what we'll do is, let's just do 1 minute of closing in meditation. We don't need the crystal bowls this time. Let's just do, and I won't guide this meditation. We'll just take a minute of just gratitude for everything we've had here together today. Just recalling the beauty and grace and pain and joy and all of it from this gathering. So just for a short minute. Nice, slow, easy breaths. I want to thank you all, and we can now commune with one another. Oh, my cards are on the table over there if anyone wants one. And you can get on my email list for announcements. Thank you.
Thank you. So, so here is Shanti's contact information. If you want to get a picture of that, or we can put it on the website. Thank you so much. Thanks for sharing your story and your wisdom and your vocation
with us, especially for people who are not aware of this work. And so for everyone here, just want to, I don't know, do we have the rest of the slides with the giving and all of that? Okay, great, great. So everyone got the picture? Fabulous. So let's go to celebrating our abundance. So I'm going to invite you all to say this affirmation with me. This is, we don't charge for these things, but we do have costs that are associated with the center. Of course, lights and repairs and all kinds of things. So I'm just going to invite you to say this affirmation along with me, and the basket will be going around, and you can either give in the basket if you want, or there are ways to give online. We have something called Text to Tithe. That number will show up next. But let's go ahead and do the affirmation. It is the nature of life to give of itself. As it is the tree's nature to fruit and the flower's nature to bloom, it is my nature to share the gifts of my time, talent, and treasure. I participate in the divine flow of life, giving generously and receiving abundantly. I am blessed and I am a blessing. I am grateful, and so it is. And here is the number for folks to give if you want to do text to tithe. Once you put that number into your phone, it's real easy. You just put the amount that you want to give us, and it goes right from your account to ours. Or you can go to cslocala.org. Yeah, take a picture of it. It's super easy to do it. I love it. And it helps us keep track very easily, so you get your statements at the beginning of the year. And we have prayer requests. Delore is holding the prayer request there. If there is something that is weighing on you, if there's something on your heart, and you would like for myself and our practitioners and ministers to pray on that, that's what we do. So let us know, and she'll make sure. And then they're over in the corner there, and there's a prayer chest if you want to do it later. Think about it a little bit. We've got, as you mentioned, just come out of a storm. We've got another one coming, and so we're just going to pray and affirm that this has minimal impact, not like this last one did. And praying for our folks in Asheville and all up in Appalachia, just so many people, west coast of Florida. And thank you, Raven over there, right, for collecting, for getting food and money and donations for up in Perry, in the Panhandle, and I think next month they're going up to Asheville. Do you want to say anything?
This weekend coming, I'm going to Valdosta, Georgia, and then the weekend after is Asheville. I have made contact with the CSL in Asheville, so if Reverend Susie happens to be seeing this, or anyone in Asheville, we have made contact, and I'm trying to get a list of the congregants' address. So there's a lot of older folks, and we have incontinence supplies. We have things donated like CPAP, breathing, like the filters you need. The things that people would never think about, you know what I mean, like that kind of stuff. And yes, we're raising funds with the Ocala clothing swap. The barrel out front, please do not put clothing in it. I'm going to change the sign for food, water, only prepared shelf-stable foods. So if it's not MRE, it needs to be canned or boxed, please and thank you. I don't want to accidentally have food rotting out here, and medical supplies. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Yes, thank you, Raven. All right, so what else is going on here? Next week, we'll be continuing this, although it's a little bit different format. Instead of sitting in circle, it's more a traditional, what people usually think about when they think of a church service. So I'll be speaking a little bit more on this topic, and then following my conversation, Elaine will be doing a Q&A, so you can ask your questions about mediumship. It's going to actually be an introduction to a workshop she'll be offering in November, if we have enough interest in that. And then, let's see, the third Sunday of the month, we will be in circle. And what we do, like we start out in circle together, and then we break out into small groups, and then we have questions that everyone gets to answer in the same circle format. So that's a nice way to get to know people in the center. And it kind of expands everybody's understanding and awareness of the things we're talking about, because everybody brings their life experience to it. So check that out. And then the fourth Sunday, Galen Grigas, who has written a book called Psychedelics, Dreams, and Rituals, is speaking on that book. And this month is Ego, Death, and Beyond. So you see we've got a theme going here. Yes, Lori. She's not here at the moment.
No, she's not. I just also wanted to mention something that is connected to psychedelic dreams and rituals. There is limited availability for the Jamaica trip at the end of this year. I believe there's one more room, maybe a couple more beds. And you guys are going to be doing a plant medicine journey facilitated by Galen and partnering with YPIR, My Mother's Your Phoenix is Rising. And if you guys aren't able to make this trip, we are planning on making other trips available, and Galen may also do a second trip and that sort of thing. One last thing was, I forgot what it was, so that's it.
It's a brain fart. We all have them. Even young people get brain farts.
Maybe she'll remember it. Let's see.
So if that's it. I guess we just got a couple of choice songs that they're going to play, and then we'll just hang out a bit.
Maybe just do the last one. What do we have? Well, what else do we have? One more thing. The integration circle that happens after her talk on the fourth Sunday, I believe. So that's the integration circle is for people who have had experiences before, or maybe are interested, or had some other non-ordinary state experience and would like to have a safe place to talk about that and kind of unpack it. That's what happens in those integration circles. And let's see what else there is. Anything else? The newsletter. Thank you, Alore, for creating another beautiful newsletter. It is out, and if you're not receiving it, let us know. And we've had some glitches with some folks. Are you getting yours yet? Still not. We'll find out why that is. Make sure that it's... Yeah, there are a couple of people if for some reason it's not coming out. Yes, yes. So if you're on Facebook and you want to be in the community chat, there's lots of stuff that goes on in there, and people just, connecting and what's going on and all kinds of fun stuff. So that's newsletter, Facebook. The magazine is out, The Science of Mind magazine, if you want to get it. It's 2 months per issue, so I think it's $10. But it has affirmations for every day of the month. And I'm not sure what their topic is because we're not synced right now. We're kind of doing our own thing here, as it happens here. Volunteer opportunities. Cole back there, raise your hands. Yeah, one of the guys behind the scenes. And thank you to our tech team, Cole, Richard. Yes. They make things look so seamless and easy, right? They really do. But Cole is our volunteer coordinator, so if you're interested in helping out, you have some skill or something that you're willing to share, or even if you don't really have the skill and you're cool with doing the gardening, well, that takes skill too. Whatever, just join us. There's all kinds of ways you can just be part of a team. Just come join us. It's fun. Be a cheerleader. All right, we have some kids. We want to bless our kids. They were really good. Really, really good. I know there's a few of them here, or at least I saw at least two. So there's your two. The girls, they're not coming. And there's a baby there. Yeah, we've got Chloe here. I'm not sure who else, but they've been really well behaved. Yes. Okay, we can do that. If the kids don't want to join us, that's fine. Are they coming? All right. You start the song. So for our visitors, we just have this little thing we do. There's a song. We put them in the middle, and we send them energy and love and light. They're coming? Great. And you'll know the song. Hi. Hey, hey. Come on in. Hi, y'all. Do you have a good morning? Yeah, everybody had a great morning. Enjoying? Do you want to, so you were with the kids? So you want to say anything about whatever you all did? Here, microphone.
The volume back there was very low, but we did enjoy the service. The kids were coloring, He drew an amazing airplane and a dragon eye.
Oh, a dragon
and Chloe
eye.
helped build. They worked on a 3D building.
Fabulous.
While the little
Fabulous.
one, she crawled around. Yeah, she helped. She helped move the blocks around.
All right.
And they did a little puppet show.
Fabulous. Well, thank you for being back there. And nice for you all to join us. So we got our little song. Are we going to send our light? Yeah. Okay. We send a little love to them, right? Rub our hands together. And we say, what's on the screen? We honor you. We see your light. May it shine on all that you do. And so it is. All right. Yeah. Then we turn back to yes. All right. To all the grown-ups in the room and your inner child, we honor you. We see your light. May it shine on all that you do. And so it is. And so it is. All right. All right. And then we had one. Okay. All right, great. So we got one last song. Did you want to? We'll let your song. Yes, no.
Okay, yeah, we got two songs. One is Louis Armstrong and one is Nina Simone.
Let's do the Nina Simone because I'm.
All right, let's
Louis
do the
next week.
Nina Simone. Yeah, it's deep.
I wish I knew how it would feel to be free. I wish I could break all the chains holding me. I wish I could say all the things that I should say. Say 'em loud, say 'em clear, for the whole round world to hear. Well, I wish I could share all the love that's in my heart. Remove all the bars that still keep us apart. I wish you could know what it means to be me. Then you'd see and you'd agree that every man should be free. I wish I could share all the love that's in my heart. Remove all the bars that still keep us apart. I said I wish you could know, I wish you could feel what it means to be me. Then you see and agree that every man should be free. I wish I could give you
At 70.
all I'm longing to
Do we have
give.
food? I think we have food this morning.
I wish I could live.
Wilma brought food. I smell it. Thank you, Wilma. Hand to Wilma and our volunteers.
All the things that I can do, though I'm way overdue.
Thank you.
I'd be starting anew.
Well, great. Have
I wish I
a
could
little
be
something.
like a bird